cool. It's very cool.
We're on air. So it's cool. It's very cool. You can hear my friend Kay saying to you, we're already cracking up here.
Yeah.
Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cracking Up. Before we go any further, I must remember to mention that we do have Grey Eagle here. So there are three of us here in our Cracking Up session. And so excuse me. So welcome. You are free to use the chat room. You can ask us any questions you like. For those of you who are new here, my friend Kay and I have been friends for more years than we actually want to admit to. She's my best friend. Am I your best friend?
Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are.
So we're best friends.
Besties.
And we both enjoy laughing. We both enjoy having fun. And so we're here cracking up. For those of you who are calling from other countries or perhaps have a struggle with the English language, in my country, which is Great Britain, in my country, which is actually Great Britain's made up of lots of different countries. So in England and around the United Kingdom, if we are laughing so hard that we might be in danger of breaking a rib, or we might be in danger of peeing our pants, or we might be in danger of really hurting ourselves because we're crying with laughter, we refer to that as we're cracking up. We're really cracking up. So that's what we're doing today. I'm not sure that we'll have you laughing until the tears come, but we like to have a good laugh, and we like to talk about our experiences and our remembrances. And Kay has been with me. At what age do you remember? Did you first meet me?
I first met you in the late 1982.
Right. So that's an awfully long time. That's 40 something, nearly 50 years, right? We're getting on now. So we've known each other for such a long time. And of course, I was so much younger than Kay when I met her.
Yeah.
So not true. That's so not true. Anyway,
Nobody believed you.
Sorry? Did you believe me?
Maybe I believed you.
Have you got old timers, love? Is
Yes.
that what's going
Old times.
Is that what's going on? All right. So anyway, so here we are, and we're going to we just like to talk, and we like to go down memory lane, and we like to remember so many of the experiences that we've had, because Kay has been with me. We've been to hauntings. We've, Kay has been my student, or right at the very beginning when we opened the healing centers. I mean, we've been to so many different venues and had so many different experiences that we often, even when we're not doing cracking up, we often when we're talking, we go down memory lane, even though there's no one else to hear us or to share with us. But we like to go down memory lane, don't we? Remember that time when we're like two old ladies now. You remember when in days gone by when I was a young thing,
and I go, no.
yeah, which is why I'm saying you've got old timers now. So, all right. So we are, the chat room is open, and you can make comments and you can get involved as much as you like. Once the comments or the questions dry up, so do we. Because we can do this on our own without an audience. So we need audience participation. I always say that. And if that's fine, if you don't want to participate, it's fine. But if you don't want to participate, we're not going to participate either, are we, Kay? We'll just have our own. What do you want to drink, darling? Do you want a rum and coke, or a brandy and soda, or what? And we should be doing some of that as well.
Tonic would be nice. Cold vodka tonic.
Oh yeah, that would be really nice.
Mm.
Anyway,
I like one.
pardon?
I haven't got any, but I'd like one.
I have some. I can sit here and
Yes,
drink
you
it,
can.
and
Yeah,
you can
I can
sort of,
watch you.
vicariously through me, you can enjoy the moment.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so here we are, and here we are cracking up. So, Kay, how was your month? Because we do this once a month. So, how was the last month been for you? And maybe a story about a cat. I don't know. You can tell or not tell that story.
Yeah,
That's entirely up to
well,
you. But
we're in the middle or coming to the end of a very of a 5-day heat wave, which has been quite unusual.
you're just let me be clear. You're in England, so just for
I'm
people
in
who don't know.
England. I'm in the middle of England, in South Yorkshire, in the middle of England, and it's been very, very, very hot. And my daughter, who lives about an hour away from me, has 2 cats, 2 beautiful cats that she loves.
Oh, we're going into this story right now. Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
because it's hot. And this one little cat disappeared on Tuesday. And the boy cat disappeared. And initially we thought, oh, he's gone wandering. He'll come back. There's lots of woods and stuff around him. He'll come back. And today he still hadn't come back. And Chloe is getting quite upset, and I'm
Is your
quite
daughter?
Chloe's my daughter. And my grandson Charlie, who adores the cat, is very upset. And the husband, who might have put a different light on it, was away working. So it's been between Chloe, myself, Charlie, and my 2 other daughters. And between us, we've been worrying and worrying and worrying until we've decided that this cat is not coming back. We really believed it wasn't coming back. I'll hand that over to you now, Rosemary.
No, I'm actually. So when you when you were worrying and worrying, didn't you then decide?
Yes. Chloe said, Mom, what do you think? And I thought, what do I think? She's asking me about her cat. I'm going to have to be really careful here because this is a responsibility. So I get my pendulum out, and I've been doing this for a long time. And the person
More
who's
than
taught
30
me,
years.
and the person that's taught me this is very, very good at teaching me this. And I'm always second guessing myself, or always being very cautious about what I say to people. And as a very fully trained healer,
when using the pendulum.
When using the pendulum, and in other areas with healing, I'm very careful about what you say to people and how you use your words. I mean, so important. So I was very reluctant, and so I very carefully, for 3 days in a row, twice a day, maybe 3 times a day, I've sat in my little space with my pendulum, being very careful.
Asking questions of the pendulum.
Questions that only would ever answer in yes or no. So I knew what I was doing. And I came away convinced that this cat was never going to return and was somewhere.
Right, go ahead. Keep going with the story, yeah.
So I asked Rosemary, I said, you may get a phone call from my daughter because she's very worried about a cat. And I'm not sure, but I feel that he's not coming back because it's too hot.
But at this point, you had said to Chloe, I think he's gone.
Yeah, and she had agreed.
Because of the heat and because of it has chest problems and so on. You had all of those things, right?
Yes. We'd turned to logic and how could he stay away for 5 days? You know. It's too hot. He's been locked up somewhere. We talked.
Go ahead. So you spoke to Rosemary.
I spoke to Rosemary and said, what do you think?
This afternoon.
Yeah. And what did Rosemary say?
And what did she say? I'm sort of like,
I can't remember. You said, well, he could be in someone else's kitchen, or in someone else's house.
No,
It
I
could,
said somebody else
there
could
you
have
go.
taken him in and
Yeah,
fed him and been
and
feeding him. But also, even
I
you
said,
have to think of the
that's a good
conditions of
idea.
the situation. Yes, but even, when you're doing this, and we're talking about the pendulum now and using the pendulum, or giving advice, or even if it's just giving advice to your own self, you're doing it for
Yes,
your own self, and so on. You've got to, you have to be cautious, uh,
yes,
because then if you're not careful, the circumstances get in the way of what you're doing, and then you're influenced by the fact, for instance, I think you were influenced by the fact that we're having this massive heat wave.
yes,
This cat has a very difficult time breathing. He has a lot of chest issues and breathing issues, and so you obviously were on some sort of perhaps subconscious level, you were influenced by
yes,
that as well, which
yeah,
brought you to the conclusion. And when
yes.
you're using the pendulum and your energy is, you're using the pendulum,
Mm,
and it's all about energy. The energy of you putting two and two together and making half a dozen, um, it's there in the energy, and there it's there and it's there in the pendulum. So you have to clear your mind of any possibilities of influence, even if those influences are on a subconscious level. So I think this is
yeah.
what had
Ah,
happened.
yeah. Okay, yes. I
So,
should have known that though, shouldn't I?
I know, but anyway, but you won't forget it now, will you? But so when I said, I was listening to the cat, I was saying, and I did say she doesn't sound good. But it could be that a neighbor, maybe somebody's taken him in, they've seen this stray cat, and they've started feeding him, and he's having a good time with whoever this person is. They're giving him lots of fuss, and they're feeding him, so on and so forth. So it
Mm.
could be that. So we ended the conversation a little while after that. We went on to talk about other things. Then about, I don't know, 15 minutes later,
Less than.
I get a get a quick call from Kay. We're getting ready to do the show, but I get a quick call from Kay.
Cat's back.
The cat's back. The cat's back. But the cat was a lot fatter than he was when he left. So obviously somebody took him in and was feeding him and giving him
Yes,
a good time.
yes.
So
I
anyway,
think so.
all's well that ends well. But
And Chloe
but
is so happy, and Charlie is so happy.
now you see, my daughter, if that had been me, my daughter would have said to me, but you said, but you
Well,
said the cat
to
was
be fair,
dead.
to be fair to her, Chloe did. I already said, don't listen to me ever again. And she said, no, but Mum, I said the same, didn't I? So we were both being swayed
Well,
by the same
again,
thing.
you see, everything's about energy. So you're allowing
Yes,
yourselves to be influenced by the possibilities rather than just clearing your mind
yes,
completely and doing the pendulum with a clear mind, not having any preconceived ideas of what may or may not have happened. So, cautionary tale for anyone out there who's using a pendulum or using any, I mean, it applies to pretty much anything, but it also, I think, highlights, I know it did for you, it highlights the responsibility that you have when you're doing these things, when you're involved in the kind of work that I'm involved in. I have to be very certain, I have to be very sure that the information that I'm giving is accurate. Unfortunately for me, I've got Grey Eagle who can say to me, no, that's wrong, or no, because sometimes I will be listening to someone in the spirit world and I'll think I heard what they said, but I've somehow misconstrued or misunderstood, because we all do that, don't we, in ordinary, regular conversation.
yeah.
And luckily, I have Grey Eagle saying to me, You didn't hear that right," or "No, she didn't. She or he didn't. No, they didn't mean that. They they meant this. And so fortunately, you know, I have someone there who can, if I'm going to get it wrong, if I'm not quite certain, or if I've made a mistake, I've got Gregor there to put his hand on my shoulder and say, hey, you know, you made a mistake. Chris, is there anybody there, or are we just talking to ourselves, to each other?
No, you have people in the chat. Eric said, I love this cat episode. Glad all is well now.
I love Eric. Oh, he's so sweet.
Benny is on. Benny was at the grief event you highlighted in November, and he's wondering when the next event is. Let's see, who else is here?
Did we hold on a minute? What grief event is he talking about?
The one that you did in Venice.
Oh, was that your event, Chris?
Yes.
And who is it?
Benny.
I'm awfully sorry, but I don't remember, but we should be doing, absolutely, we should be doing more. And if you're in Venice, you know where I am. So anyone out there, if you'd like to organize something for us, we're happy to go. We are doing, hopefully, still not set it up yet, not got the times yet, but I've been invited to speak in Connecticut, which is, for those of you who don't know, about an hour's drive, maybe. Well, it depends which part of Connecticut, because Connecticut is a big state, but I've been invited to speak at, I think it's Greenwich Village in Connecticut. And that will be sometime in August, so watch for that. Anybody who wants to, anybody who's in that area, but put the word out there. I'm going to be doing a total demonstration of mediumship, which of course I love to do. And Benny, you have to remind us who you are and what you liked best about the event. How about that? What did you like best about the event? So, okay. Anybody else, Chris?
Joan is on. She said, all talked out after yesterday, but I'm ready for some laughs.
Good. We like it, Joan. You think I'd be all talked out after yesterday, but no, this is a subject I can keep talking about forever and ever. Anyone else, Chris?
Free as a bird, says Rosemary and Kay. Thank you for the live. I'm following from Australia. My older sister has been diagnosed with lung cancer yesterday. They have been watching this. It's only a partial, so there might be more coming.
Okay. Well, hi to everyone in Australia who's listening in. In fact, hi to everybody out there. I mean, we do have people from so many different countries, which is really great. And of course, if it's a weird time for you, it must be, what time is it in Australia? Is it the middle of the night or is it early morning? I can't think. But just try and remember that we do record these sessions, and then they are available on YouTube, I do believe. All right. So, anything else, Chris, before we move on?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. So, I said yesterday that I was going to be, or the day before, whenever it was, I've been saying every day this week that I'm going to make shortbread. And I haven't done it. First of all, I wasn't going to do it because I knew if I made shortbread, I'd eat it. This is a household. Let me just tell most of you here. In my house, we are rarely without shortbread. And for those of you who want the recipe, you can, hey, my cookbook is out there. So you can, if you want to know more about that, you can email and find out where you can find my, yes, I have. Yes, I did. I wrote a cookbook. It's great. Lots of pictures, lots of recipes. It's great. So anyway, also, so I didn't make them. And then yesterday I thought I really could just eat some shortbread. So today I made muffins. I know.
Protein muffins.
I made these little protein muffins, which are great. They're delicious. And I thought, I've not had those for ages. I'll make some of those. So I made some of those. So it looks like sometime over this weekend, I'll be making shortbread because I just can't do without it. Anyway, that's been my boring and ordinary life. This pardon? You say
Is it
something?
a therapy, or is it just make you feel good? The moving, the make.
I think it
So
has to do
the
with
making
hunger.
of it must make you feel good. Hunger.
It's just hunger. I'm just thinking. Here's the thing. I am a, as you know, Kay, I am a person of habit. I'm a creature of habit. For years, and I mean years and years and years, I would have the same lunch every
Yes.
single day. You remember?
Oh yes. Yes. I
And
still get
I'd probably have the same breakfast every single day as well. But I always had the same lunch every day, and lots of people couldn't understand it. And it was sort of a very plain and ordinary lunch. And I'll tell you what it was. You could get these wonderful Swedish crisp breads, little ones, which we can't get here. I can't get here in America, and I'd have 3 of those and a cup of soup.
asparagus.
Asparagus or celery, but usually it was asparagus, creamy asparagus, cup of soup. And it just didn't vary. And the idea of having anything different, just, I mean, if I went out to lunch, I wouldn't take it with me and eat it when we're out at lunch. I would vary it on rare occasions. if I was going to somebody else's house for lunch, but I am a creature of habit. So I do tend to do the same things. I tend to eat the same things. I'm very much, I don't know why, but I am adventurous, and I'm adventurous with everything, with food and all sorts of other things. But I kind of like my routine as well. So every now and again, this is why I'm telling you that I'm throwing the muffins in, because it takes me out of my normal routine of what I'm going to
You throw yourself a curveball.
Yes, because the last 2 days I've had exactly the same lunch every day and the same dinner every day.
Do you find it a challenge?
I don't. Anyway, what can I tell you? So you see, I am such a creature of habit. So I just made these muffins, and now I'm going to be tonight. I'm going to think, oh gosh, should I have one or should I? What should I do? What should I do? Not really. Anyway, but anyway, so that is my completely and absolutely unexciting life, which is only a part of my life. So I thought, because I know that lots of people like stories, so I thought I'd tell you a story. And both Kay and Chris were there when in America when this happened. We went to, I'm not sure if we should say what the place is. We went to this place. It's like a town, a small town, that houses, like, and literally every house or every other house is inhabited by a, whatever they want to call themselves, a medium, a psychic, whatever they want to call themselves, and they pride themselves on saying that it's a very spiritual place. And one time, maybe, I don't know how long ago, it might have been 10 years ago or something, I can't remember, Kay, but you were here in the States visiting, so 15 years, and whatever it was, it's a long while ago. I was invited to go and speak there, which I did. Chris and her husband came, and Kay was staying with me at the time. She'd come to visit, so you came as well, and we went to this place, and I was the main speaker. I think they did a weekend of, anyway, I was the main speaker, and the place was packed. It was really, really packed, which was nice. And so I'm doing my thing. We also have forgotten, I'd taken Kachuro with me as well, because Kachuro, my puppy, was a wonderful, wonderful healer. He just was an amazing little dog, and he could, he just had this incredible healing energy. Anyway, so we took him as well, and so off we went. And when we arrived, we were shown to our room, and Kay and I were sharing a room. We didn't realize it was going to be one bed, a double bed. And anyway, we sort of unpacked, we went out, had dinner, and I was speaking the next day. And, so Chris and her husband and Kay and I, we all went out for dinner with Kachuro, by the way. And so we got back to this room, and it was a horror of a room. I think, Chris, didn't you describe it as like a student something? What did you say? I
To
can't
me,
remember.
it felt like a summer camp.
Yeah, anyway, but there was this one bed. So Kay and I, we've slept in the same bed before. It's fine. We've been friends for all these years. We don't care. So we were happy to share the bed until I was in the bed. I got in first, and then Kay got in, and then we both rolled into the center of the bed because the mattress was like a massive dip in, and we were almost touching the floor. There was the springs had gone, everything had gone, and we're trying to climb. You trying to climb out of the bed? I'm trying to climb out of the bed. That we tried it a few times, but there was no fixing this bed.
Dusty.
Awful,
Dusty.
horrible. It was a horrible place. But anyway, so at some point, I went down to reception and said, we can't sleep in there because it's we keep rolling into the middle of the bed, and the bed isn't supporting us, and there's no way we can sleep in there. There must be another hotel somewhere around. Anyway, we ended up, long story short, we ended up at another hotel. But now here's the thing, you see, because when I went down to reception and complaining about this and said, I'm sorry, but we can't sleep there. You're going to have to find us somewhere else. Where else is that we can stay? The response that I got was immediate. Well, nobody else has ever complained. Well, every other speaker that we've ever had has always stayed in that room, and we've never had any complaints. So now that I'm labeled as a complainer.
Troublemaker.
And a troublemaker. And unfortunately, I was a troublemaker because we all know that there are charlatans in every walk of life. There are doctors who should never be doctors. There are, there are lawyers who really should, I mean, they're either lazy or they're incompetent or whatever it is. So we know that in every walk of life there are charlatans, and that goes for mediumship as well. But it seemed as if, I'm not going to say that every person in that little town was a charlatan, but it seemed like it was really, overflowing with people who really, really did not know what they were doing. They thought they knew, they were trying, and a lot of them, I'm sure, had good intentions. And it's rather like the story with UK, with the pendulum.
Yeah.
You think you know what you're doing, and you're trying to do it, and you're trying to use it. But again and again, as I say to everybody who wants to try these things out, please use caution, because the energy is such that you can be influenced without even realizing you're being influenced by other factors that are on a subconscious level. You can be influenced by all sorts of other things, by other things sort of coming into your sphere. So so anyway, so they never asked me back, is all I can tell you, that they never ever asked me back. Because I feel that if you see this going on, especially with the medical profession, if a doctor is incompetent, you call them out on it.
Yeah.
You try and do it in a way that is respectful. You do. You try to do it in a nice way, in a way that is respectful and kind, but at the same time, you're going to call them out. And the same thing is with, people who claim to be one thing and in fact are perhaps so full of their own ego, or they're so full of wanting to help people. And a lot of people come at this, with really good intentions. But you've heard the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. However, we had a great time, and we gave lots and lots of messages. And at some point during the evening, a lady stood up to tell everyone, and there were more than 1,000 people there, I think, to tell everybody her story. Because she wanted to tell her story in support of who and what I was and what I did, and basically saying to people, this was my experience with Rosemary. So I'm going to tell you this story. And then we're going to go to the chat room. So you better start typing, guys, because otherwise we're not playing. If you don't play, we don't play. Fine. Anyway, so, all right. So this lady was the daughter of a patient of mine. So I'm going to tell it from my point of view, which is what she told everybody in the audience that night. So one day I had a phone call from this lady, from this daughter, explaining to me that her mother had asked her to call me. Her mother had a particularly nasty situation. She had osteoarthritis or something. She had severe asthma. She had lots of issues with health and medications and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, she had fairly recently, the daughter told me, had fallen down the cellar steps, which were fairly steep. And she had somehow laid on her arm, and her hand had become broken and twisted, so that it was literally, her hand was facing that way, like that. So, so it was, you could say, let's say it's almost back to front. And the only way to deal with it, the only way to give her any relief from it, was surgery. Unfortunately, the daughter explained to me, her mother couldn't have surgery without massive drugs. A lot of the drugs she couldn't take because of her situation. So both the surgeons, the family, everybody was, well, obviously it was such a huge operation, because they literally had to take her hand off and turn it back around. That was basically what they were doing, sort of. Anyway, sounds awful, but they were so concerned that she wouldn't live through the surgery, because the surgery was a long one, first of all, and she wouldn't live through the surgery. Either the pain would kill her, or the anesthetic would kill her, or the painkillers would kill her. So they were all didn't know what to do. But the mother, this daughter said to me, my mother has had a solution. And the solution was, she said, that I have to call you. Her mother had been a client of mine, I think years ago, had been a patient of mine years ago. And she, every day, apparently, she would listen to my healing tape, The Gift of Healing, which we made when another patient of mine Wendy had cancer, and I made this recording for her, and then eventually I put it out for anybody who wants it. And we still have those recordings out there. And so if you're listening to this story and you want to get hold of this, we can hopefully tell you where you can find it. Anyway, this particular, it was now on disc. This particular disc titled Give the Gift of Healing. And this daughter, her daughter's mother, had been listening to this every day for quite a long time, I think a few years. And it helped her, and it helped her with her meditations and so on and so forth. So the mother said to the daughter, ask Rosemary if she would mind. Of course, why they asked me, I don't know. It was such a great honor that she do it. But she said there's one way, and they talked to the surgeons, there's one way that she thought she might be able to do it, to have the surgery without anesthetic and without all of the painkillers that were going to, destroy other parts of her body and so on. She said, she said to the surgeon, if you allow me into the operating theater and I can place a machine on my chest while you're working, and I can play this, Give the Gift of Healing, and I can play it. We can put it on a loop, and and if we play that, she said, I'm pretty certain I can go into some sort of meditative state and manage to do this without anesthesia. So the daughter called me and she asked, what did I think? And I said, I think it's really up to your mother. But what I also can do is if you can tell me the time, the date and time of when she's having the surgery, I can also be sending her healing when she's having the surgery. And I can, in my way, be there with her and helping her through this. And that's what they did. And so now I'm bringing you back to this village, this psychic little town. And this woman has stood up and she's telling the story, and she's probably telling it in a far more dramatic way than I am, because she was a part of it. This was her mother. She'd been emotionally involved. So she was telling everyone the whole story of how her mother was able to have this surgery on her hand, where they literally had to saw bones and remove things and put things back together. Amazingly, once they'd finished with it and they tied up all the nerve endings and everything, amazingly, she was able to use her hand again. I don't think she had full use of the hand, but she was able to use the hand and without pain anymore. And it was so successful. Well, as the woman is telling this story, as the daughter is telling this story to this town of people who are definitely fascinated by our subject, as she's telling the story, you literally could have heard a pin drop in that room, right? Yeah. And Chris, you remember it very clearly, don't you? You could have heard a pin drop in there, because everybody was so incredibly fascinated and amazed by this story. And as I'm telling you this story, can you imagine? I mean, I know what it was like for me when I did my hand, and it's extremely painful. Can you imagine sort of, well, actually, I didn't have painkillers for mine when I think about it, because I've refused. So I was able to put myself in that space. But can you imagine somebody having an actual surgery where they're cutting into you and they're, whatever, without anesthetic, without pain pills, and this woman, she had her headphones in, she had the tape machine, the daughter put it on a loop, so it didn't stop, it just kept, when it came to the end, it started again, it just kept going on a loop. And the surgery took a few hours, I believe, and she came out of it wonderfully and beautifully. And that to me is such a
That's-
miracle.
That is, for her to put herself into that situation with full faith,
Total faith.
total faith.
Total faith. I mean, she, obviously she had a lot of faith in me. I like to think it wasn't misplaced. I don't think it was, because she came out of it perfectly well. But she also had great faith in healing, in that God force that is out there. So she literally put herself in this. She put herself in this place where somebody was going to do awful things, almost torturous things to her hand in order to put it right. And apparently she never even flinched or said ow or ooh or any of that. She just put herself into that space,
Unbelievable.
in that time and space, and just let them get on with it. And the surgeon afterwards, obviously, I need that. I know whatever that is that you've been using, I need that for my other patients. I need that, which was really good. So it just, so it shows that it's not just about I think somebody yesterday on the subscription show that we did, the Zoom meeting that we had, and somebody was asking about, they had just been diagnosed with health issues and so on, and one of my comments was, it's the healer can do as much as they can do, but also the patient has to be a participant in it as well. And the more the patient participates, the more you're going to get out of it, and the better the results will be. You can't just be passive about it and let somebody, excuse me, I've got hiccups, let somebody else do all the work. You've got to be a participant, which is why I always insist in these shows that we do. You're not going to sit there and let me do all the work, or in this case, let Kay and I do all the work. No, you're going to be a participant too. So come on then, let's go. Let's hear your comments. Kay, before we go to comments, do you have anything to say
about that? I do obviously remember the incident and the story, and listening to it incredulously, but obviously believing it, but still having been part of the healing and seen what it does, still amazed, and still amazed now at her complete faith and trust. And that's a really good lesson for me.
I think also, I think it's sort of, I always say this, that it doesn't matter how long I've been doing this, it's still fascinating to me. I'm still fascinated by the whole thing, by the entire subject, and still learning and still having experiences that blow me away, Okay.
And that's very often through other people as well, and they're
Oh,
learning.
yeah.
So like Zoom last night, that was fascinating. Everybody's enthusiasm.
It was a good meeting, wasn't it? It was a really, well, I certainly liked it. Okay, Chris, what have we got?
Oh, let's see. Trying to see, there was just a couple that just came in at the very last second here. This is an amazing story. I do believe in the power of the mind, faith, etc. Eric says, so happy to know you both.
Wow.
And I'm scrolling back up because the person from Australia had finished what they were saying.
Okay.
I guess the sister, they've been working with the sister for a while, and now they're going to operate. And in Australia, where they are, it's just after 7 a.m.
Okay.
And if you wanted to know, Benny said, where'd you go, Benny? Here, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I shared your shortbread recipe with people.
No, they can get it from the cookbook. Don't do that. And you don't have my shortbread recipe anyway. How could you share my shortbread recipe with everybody? You don't even know it.
Chris, you did the boo-boo. Buy the book, buy the book.
Let's see. Simply because you said the other day that you would share it. That's why I did.
That's beside the point. I've changed my mind.
Go for it, Chris. Go for it, Chris.
Oh my goodness gracious. I think I should hang up my hat right now.
No, don't
And
do
Benny
that.
says, what does Benny say?
I'm trying to find what Benny said. Benny wrote to remind you who he was. He was wearing, I remember, I can picture him. He was wearing a purple shirt and he was in the corner. But I can't, it's disappeared off the feed right now.
Okay.
So I can't tell you what he said, but there aren't any more comments yet about.
He likes your shortbread.
Okay, now we've got some. Caroline saying, what a wonderful story. That's amazing. Eric says your cookbook is still packed away and he can't
You've
find
been
it
for a long time. Get it out. Sorry, what, Chris? Sorry.
He just has to find it in his packing. I went to try to find mine, as a matter of fact, and I couldn't find mine either. So here we go.
Mine's always out.
What?
So no other comments at the moment, Rosemary.
Now look, come on, everyone. I mean, I'm not doing all the work here.
All right. How about the man in the pub with the gun?
Oh, go ahead. Well, just to say that yes, here's another story, another example of the things that we've shared over the years. What a thing to share. Anyway, so Kay is going to tell this story, but just so everybody knows, while all of this was unfolding, I was giving messages to a whole group of people and was completely oblivious. Oh my God, old timers catching up. All right, so I was completely oblivious to what was going on. So go ahead, Kay.
Oh, was it in the Barclay? Was it in Barclay?
It was in a hotel. Let's not name names here.
Okay, it was a long time
It was
ago.
in a large hotel. There was an event. I'll set the scene for you. There was a large event. It was jam-packed with people. The one thing, as I'm remembering this, it was a very nice hotel also. The one thing I'm remembering is I was wearing, do you remember the earrings that you bought me? The gold rose, the shape of a rose, and I loved those. They had some sparkly bits in them. And I remember someone in the audience gasping and saying to me, oh, are they real gold? Are they real?
No.
But absolutely I loved those earrings. I love those earrings. Anyway, so here we were, and I was completely oblivious to the drama that was going on behind because I was busy talking to people, giving messages, probably telling stories like we're doing today. And then now I've set the scene over to you, Kay.
And so I was in the bar with some friends waiting. No, not drinking. Waiting, presumably to go on and waiting for an intermission. I'm not sure what we were doing, but there was a group of us that usually went around to these functions with Rosemary and helped arrange things and sort things out. And as we were standing there, this gentleman walked in the bar. We'd never seen him before, and he had a big shotgun, large shotgun. And he came in very blustery and loud and said, "Where is she? Where is she?
Me?
I'm going to blow her head. I'm going to blow her head off. I'm going to blow her head off." So all the hotel management flustered and blustered, and a few of the people I was with started trying to talk him down, and eventually they did. we did talk him down.
But he
But
was,
he
but he
wouldn't
was
let go
very
of his-
serious, wasn't he? That he was going to blow my.
He was very serious, and he was a large, blustery, red-faced man with a very large shotgun, and he was going to blow your head off.
Did we ever find out why?
No, I don't think he got that far. No.
Okay.
We managed to stop
It's
him.
not. It is
police
not the
were
first
called.
time that I was threatened with a knife once at the healing centre, but that's a whole other story.
I didn't know that.
But I always stay calm in these situations anyway. But I do believe that even though he was very agitated for some reason, and he sort of
Yes.
set his sights on me, and he
Yes.
was very determined at one point to do what he said he was going to do, until a couple of the guys in our organization did manage to talk him down.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
for whatever other reason, he became one of my biggest fans.
I couldn't get rid of him. He adored you. Absolutely adored you. Very well.
So we went from
Every week.
intent to murder or intent to smother with love and affection.
With love and affection. Oh God, that was so funny.
So you can, all of you listening in here, you probably think we're crazy. Well, we are cracking up a little bit here because, and I was there giving messages and totally oblivious to the drama that was going on.
And the police asked you, "Do you want to prosecute this man?"
Yes,
and
because
you said, "What
you missed that. The most important point was that the hotel thought it serious enough and they were afraid enough that they did actually call the police.
Yes.
And they wouldn't be the first time for that either. It's like, but anyway, we finally I didn't do anything at all, but people finally calmed him down, and I don't know if they ever got the shotgun off of him. I don't know. And I didn't know anything about it until after the event was over and everybody was happy with all of the messages and all of the stuff, because we always used to have a good time. And then every time we went somewhere and every time I was, talking, giving a demonstration, whatever it was that I was doing, afterwards, there would always be a group of us, sort of healers, my students, and a group of us who we'd go out, we'd find the closest Chinese restaurant, because the Chinese restaurants were the only restaurants open late at night.
Yes.
I mean, any of the restaurants were all closed by this time, so we always used to end up usually at a Chinese restaurant. Luckily, we all love Chinese food, but we had so much fun, right? Didn't we have so much fun?
And we always had to enjoy everybody else's food because we always shared it.
Yeah, we did. We always we did. We always shared. Yeah, we did. Those were the good old days. See, those were the
things you
good old
remember.
days.
Guns and
Now,
food.
Benny has reminded us of the event that we did in November here in Florida, and everybody went their own separate ways, and nobody ended up going out. I suggested that we should all have pizzas, but we did. For some reason, I think on Saturday night, I was supposed to be going, I did my thing, and then I was supposed to go back to share pizza with everyone. But then my back was out, so I decided not to go. But there was always the option of everybody bringing stuff to me. There was always the option of somebody going to the Chinese place and getting some good food. Benny, I hope you're listening to this. There's always the option of bringing me food. If I can't make it there, you could always bring it here, you see. So, but we did used to have some really good times, didn't we? Really, really, really good times.
Adventures, little adventures.
I know. Yeah, well, not so little either. Some of them were so important.
No, that wasn't little. No.
No, it's not often you get threatened. Somebody's going to blow your head off, is it? All right, Chris,
Where is she? I'm
enough
gonna
of
blow her
why
head
don't you
off.
tell that story? Enough of the gruesome stuff. It did sort of brought a memory to mind. I can remember, and this has happened a few times. I can remember when I was living in England, and one day a group of people came knocking on my door, and I think they were Italian, couldn't speak a word of English. And I opened the door and they all started crying. Because I opened the door. How they'd found my address, I've no idea. Another time when I was in I was living in Vermont, and you've been to my house in Vermont, so you know what that's
Yes.
like. And I had I had a guy we had sort of 70 acres there, and so I had to have this guy Sheldon, who was just wonderful, and I loved him to pieces. And he called me one day and he said, "You need to tell me what to do." I said, "Why? What's going on?" And I was away at the time. I was not even in the country. He said, "We got a whole swarm of people. they're, they're, they're walking
Tracking you
all over
down.
your house. They're climbing up. They're peering into the windows. They keep banging on the doors. What am I supposed to do?" And I said, "No."
Oh my
And
goodness.
apparently they'd found out that I lived, the town that I lived close to, they'd gone into a florist shop on the pretext of sending me flowers. And of course, from the florist, they got my address. And then they found a driver, some guy who drove taxis or something, who was also, I think he was Italian. And he drove them up there, and they just were crawling all over the place. Anyway, and I think my groundsman, Paul Sheldon, he'd never had to deal with anything like that before. I'm not sure that he used a
So you were,
shotgun, but I think he had to threaten them. I'm going to have to call the police if you don't get off the property.
but you were very popular in Italy,
Yeah,
weren't you?
so I think I still am anyway. But I mean, but it's
yes.
great that you have that enthusiasm. And it's great that people feel enthusiastic about the subject, and people feel enthusiastic about me too. But it's when they just take it over the edge a bit that it's just, it's that you got to be a little careful when people do that. But I do understand. I do understand it. Also, I do understand why they do it too. Anyway, Chris, how are we doing?
Well, I found Benny's response. He says, "I was the blonde guy in the purple the first night. I enjoyed hearing you tell everyone to hold the mic closer." Just kidding. And the mediumship was very fascinating to watch.
Thank you, Benny. So, if you're living in Venice, where are you? So, okay, keep going, Chris.
Let's see. He said, "Yes, it was fun." A Ryan says, "Hello, angels. First time watching."
Hi, Ryan. Where are you from?
Did James Randi ever come to you in spirit to apologize?
Oh, I love this question. You wouldn't know about this guy.
Oh, I know. I've heard about James
Yeah.
Randi. Definitely.
Did he ever come to me to apologize? Honestly, I don't think he has it in him. I don't think James Randi has it in him to apologize, ever had it in him to apologize to anybody. But it was such a shame for me. It was sad for me. A lot of people were up in arms about it. They were angry about it. He shouldn't be allowed to speak to you that way. And it was on the Larry King show. And if you want to watch this show, go to YouTube, because it's still up there, and it has so many viewers, and but you get all sorts of crazy people who are being mean to me, saying nasty things because they believed what James Randi believed, which I'm sure a lot of people believe. They think that people like myself are fake, they're charlatans, etc., etc. And it's only when they have their own experience, or they have been, we've had those many, I mean, so many
Yeah.
amazing experiences. We've had so many amazing experiences. And I think it's hard for people if you haven't had an experience of your own, or if you haven't been brought up with this kind of this world of ours. It's very hard for people to kind of grasp it. However, there's no need to be mean about it. You know, if you can disagree, that's fine. If you think I'm a fake, I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me what other people think. I really don't mind. You can think I'm a fake as much as you like, but don't be mean and don't be insulting, because it's, you know, it's sort of like, it's like the world today, you know, the anti-Trump and the anti, whatever her name is, the other one. On the other side, the anti, and people are not nasty and mean and spiteful and saying awful things about each other. And there's just absolutely no reason for it. So you can disagree. And isn't that what we're doing in this free world of ours? We have freedom of speech. And I try very hard. And with James Randi, I just felt very sad for him at the end. I mean, he did get mean at the end, and he was blustering at the end, and he was being insulting, and Larry King was enjoying every minute of it. I have to tell you, during the breaks, he was just so excited about the whole thing, because it was a good show. But if you go and watch the show and you read the comments, please don't get upset when some of the comments are mean about me or nasty about me. It's not worth it. People can allow to think whatever they want to think, but just come to it with an open mind. And I think you know, it's definitely an entertaining show, and it's definitely a show worth watching. So all you have to do is put in Larry King, James Randi, and anyway, to answer your question, darling, no, he's never, I doubt if he ever would apologize. But I just sort of smile and think, you know, but I bet he knows better now. So, you know, but thank you for that. And I hope you're enjoying our Cracking Up show. Okay. And I'd love to know where you're calling from. All right,
Norwich,
Chris.
England.
Oh, Norwich.
Norwich.
It's not which, it's Norwich.
Not Norwich, it's Norwich.
Yes.
Well, Ryan says, I learned a lot from your interaction from James, because you constantly, perfectly prove spirit evidence in front of him, and he just wouldn't accept it. It helped me with my skeptical family.
Oh, how wonderful! Well, I'm really glad that, you know, that it helped, and thank you for saying that. And I hope you're enjoying our show. We do have other shows which are they're much more spiritual. We're much more serious, or are we? No, we're not really, are we? We just like to laugh. You know, the British sense of humor. You know all about that. So thank you for joining us. We hope you're enjoying this. We do it sort of the last Friday of every month.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, more comments, questions, or time is up, but we're still going a little bit, so keep going.
No, that's pretty much it, Rosemary.
Okay, well, I've enjoyed myself. Kay, have you enjoyed yourself?
And yes, I have.
We don't know whether Chris has enjoyed herself. Do we actually care whether Chris has enjoyed
Yes,
herself?
we do. Chris, have you enjoyed yourself?
We
Yes.
do? We
Yes.
really, we do,
Yes.
Chris? Okay, then I'll be nice. Did you enjoy yourself, Chris?
Is there ever a time that I don't when I'm with you, Rosemary?
Oh, good
I'm
answer,
sorry, what?
Chris.
What did she say?
Yes, she
say
did.
that again. Is there ever a time what?
When I'm with you that I don't.
Yes. There are lots of times when you're with me that you don't enjoy it. When I make you cry, when I give you home truths, when I, as a teacher, and
yes,
kindly.
We've all been there.
So I know that those who have been unfortunate enough to have me as a teacher. Okay, you know what that's like, you know, because everybody goes in the hot seat. I try to do it nicely. I'm not mean about it at all, but sometimes you just have to tell it as it is. So Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Chris. Thank you for Gregor being here. I can't believe we didn't have more questions, but that's okay too. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it. And we do a Thursday morning show that you're welcome to join in with every Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 a.m. in America, which would be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, something like
Yes,
that.
four
In
with us.
England.
Yes,
4 o'clock in the afternoon in England.
GMT. Yeah.
And go to YouTube, go explore, see what else that we've done. In the meantime, please, everyone, have a very, very blessed rest of the day, whatever is left of it. Although in Australia, it sounds like the day is just beginning. If you could let us have your sister's name, my darling, we would love to send healing if you'd like us to. So if we put her on a healing list, and please keep us posted as to what's going on there. You thought I'd forgotten, didn't you? But I haven't. So have a very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. In the meantime, thank you, Kay, for
Thank you. I've enjoyed.
doing this. And I think we should go and have a drink now. What do you think?
Yes.
Shall we
That's
have some spirits of a different kind?
No, I'm going to have a nice cup of tea.
Oh no, I'm might have a vodka or a. Oh gosh, I can't make up my mind. So many choices. Anyway,
I've got nothing.
we'll see you.
Sorry.
Hopefully, we'll see you next time. And don't forget, if you want to email us any questions, any suggestions, anything you'd like us to talk about on this show or any other show that we do, you can email rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. Easy to remember. And we hopefully will see you very soon. Thank you again for joining us. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.